All right. Hi, everybody, and good evening, and welcome to the first live session for EO Kolkata GSEA for 2022. I am your host, Dil Nawaz, and I'm the founder of Power Deck. In this session, what we do, we host industry leaders, startup mentors, successful entrepreneurs, and angel investors, and ecosystem players, and who's of the ecosystem so that we can get insights and knowledge from them about the topic we're going to talk about. Today's topic is challenges of building team at an early stage, and I'm sure our guests today are going to give you a lot of insights about building a team at an early stage. If you're an entrepreneur, my two guests are serial entrepreneurs, very, very experienced entrepreneurs themselves, and I'm sure you will enjoy the conversation. But before we jump into the conversation, let me quickly give you a brief about EO. So, EO is Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global not for profit organization. It is a high quality support network of more than 14,000 plus like minded business leaders from across 61 countries. Every year, EO conducts GSEA, which is Global Student Entrepreneurship Awards, which is a premier global competition for students who own and operate a business while studying in the college and university. GSEA supports student entrepreneurs with mentorship, recognition, connections to take their business to the next level, and of course, the prize money, which is at an international level or a global level, is $100,000, and at Kolkata level this year we have a lakh rupee in prize, all in cash. So remember that. As I said before, my name is Dil Nawaz. I'm a host for the session. I run a company called Power Deck, and before I jump into the conversation, let me quickly give you a brief about two guests of mine today. So my first guest is Mr. Anshul Jain. Anshul is a serial entrepreneur with 24 years of experience in business leadership. He has built multiple businesses with a few successful exits as well. He's currently serving as an MD at Ruby Pharma and AJT House. AJ Group is a Kolkata-based corporate entity that has heritage of more than 20 plus years. The group has also initiated and continues to support a variety of social development oriented and charitable activities spearheaded by the AJ Charitable Trust. My second speaker for today is Mr. Ravi Todi. Ravi is currently the managing director of Shrachi Group. He comes with 30 plus years of experience and holds a bachelor's degree from St. Xavier's College and is currently pursuing a diploma at Harvard Business School in owner oblique president management program called OPM. Sarachi Group is engineering procurement is into engineering procurement and construction, real estate development, agro machinery, and manufacturing of paper and stationery. And under Ravi's leadership, the group has grown to become a 1,000 crore company. I am, as I said, super excited to meet both of my speakers. Let me quickly add them on the screen, and we can kick off. Hi Anshul, hi Ravi, welcome and good evening, and welcome to this GSA Live today. How are
Good
both
evening.
of you doing today?
Very well. Excited.
Awesome. Awesome. So, as you know, this topic for today is building team at early stages. Uh, Both of you almost brings in half a century of experience, 20 plus years, 30 plus years. And I'm sure you both run multiple companies, serial entrepreneurs. You would have built multiple teams across different sectors over multiple years. And I'm sure you will give a lot of insights to young entrepreneurs who are going to watch this today, who are at a very, very early stage, because team is something that everybody is for a lack of a better word, cribbing about. And I think I was just reading an article which says not having the right team is one of the three reasons, or one of the top three reasons why a startup would fail. So uh, I think it's a very important topic to talk about. So before I jump into the conversation,
What happened?
yeah, so before I jump into the conversation, I want to quickly ask you, what has been your journey like? If you can talk about that, please. Yeah,
So, shall I answer that, Dilemma? Shall I go ahead?
yes, Anshul, you can
Okay.
go first, and you can
Super.
quickly talk about what's been your journey like.
So, just in brief, for you as well as all those listening in, on a personal front, I'm a Calcutta boy, born and brought up in Calcutta. I've studied in a school called La Martiniere and then did 4 years of college overseas. Then I got back in '99 and got into my sort of entrepreneurial or business oriented career. Married, happily married with two daughters, both studying. And as I said, I call Calcutta my workplace as well as my home. On the business front, I started my first effective and operating company in 1994. Yeah, that's some time back. And this was an NBFC in the business of automobile financing. So 90s was a time period when a lot of the Indian economy had just opened up and things were looking different. And financing activities and financial instruments were becoming more and more mature and more complicated, and that's what we entered into. And since then, until date, which is about a period of about 24 to 25 years, I've gone through about 11 different businesses. And of which three survive as on date. Each one of them have taught me something valuable. The failures have taught me, I guess, more than the successes. And these businesses were all ideated by me, established, and then exited as well. In the ones that we did exited, in the ones that we did exit. On the whole, it has been an absolutely satisfying journey, one which is of no regrets, one which is of great learning. And I'm happy to say that I've also been successful in creating some wealth along that way. So that's been my journey in brief.
Amazing. Ravi, I'll pass on the mic to you. If you can also brief about your journey and how's been your journey like. If you can also quickly talk about that, please.
Hi. Thanks a lot. So again, little similar to what Anshul just said. I'm also a Calcutta guy, born and brought up in Calcutta. Uh, Went to Don Bosco School, Park Circus, on my schooling there, and then joined St Xavier's College, morning college. I was all set to go to US, but there was a family split that happened, and I just couldn't leave that time for US. So joined a family business very soon. College was early morning, 6 o'clock, and I was in office by 9:30, 10 every morning, and that is how I started my career, my journey. When I started my journey, I started as a, I would say I started right at the bottom. My father was very clear that you will never get a chamber, or you'll never get a desk to sit. You have to learn with everybody, and that is how I started. I started my career in our paper mill, and I started with opening the dispatch letter. That time, we had to letters used to come. The mail was very critical. There were no emails as such, so there were hard mails. So I had to open it, enter in the register, read the mails. A lot of ideas to come, and that's how my journey started. In 2 years, I went around every desk in the office, including purchase, inquiry, sending manual inquiries, marketing, accounts, secretarial, banking, production, in the factory. So that is how I started my journey. And the biggest learning was that I did everything myself. And the biggest learning was I understood both the sides of the coin, because I could understand the issues, the pain points uh, that people down the line used to face or were facing. So that was the biggest learning. So that's how I started, and then I started a NBFC very early in the career, and it was a small beginning. We were financing commercial vehicles and trucks and cars, and that's how I grew. 1994, I came out with my first public issue, a small public issue with a 5 rupees premium. 98, 99, I tied with Citicorp, City Finance, City. It's like it was a subsidiary of Citibank, and that's how I grew my NBFC gradually. 2007, I decided to merge my NBFC to a much bigger NBFC called Magma. It became Magma Shrachi, and I became the joint MD. But we could scale up our business, more than 300 branches, $1.2 billion assets, and branches all over the country. Uh, the entire journey was interesting in the sense that I learned what to do, what not to do, also in this entire merger and acquisition gamut that I went through. Huge learnings, huge things which have really helped in career. 2011, I decided to sell my stake, quit the business, sell my stake, and enter into my engineering EPC business, which was a family business. I also started a agri machinery business. We importing agri machineries from China, Thailand, and Korea, and Taiwan, and that was another area that has still I'm working. I'm still selling. The engineering EPC business has really grown, and now we have sitting on an order book of more than 1,500 crores. I'm still learning, guys, and as in my introduction, I've just returned back from US. I'm doing a Harvard course called OPM, Ownership Present Management course. I've just finished my second module, and I go back in March next year to do my third module. It's a great learning, and I still feel learning. There's no end, and you can still continue to learn. Apart from these businesses, we are into real estate in a very big way. Uh, Malls, printing stationery. So it's a little diversified line of business that we are handling. I have also invested in startups, made some good startup investment. Still invested in a few startups, including NBFC, which is basically into calling, telecalling, and also collection. So all that I have done, I'm still doing, and still learning from you guys when I meet the EO young Turks. There's so much to learn from you, all of you. So really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for such an elaborative, explanation. I'm pretty sure, and as then when we move forward, your experience and your learnings will give a lot of deeper insights to young folks who are now trying to build companies. And thank you for giving all that background, because it will also help our audience members to ask you relevant questions. Before I jump into or ask you the next question, folks, all those who are watching, if you have any questions around startups in general, investing, funding, or anything related, but most importantly around team. If you have any specific questions, you now know these two gentlemen with me on the panel. Feel free to ask your questions. The live chat is open. You can drop your questions in the chat. And in the end, when we get time, I will be asking your questions to our panelists. Also, the application to apply for EO Kolkata have been plugged in. If you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, the live link on the top link, the first pinned link on the live chat is of application to EO GSEA Kolkata. Please make sure you apply or share it with relevant folks, ideally students who are building companies while back in college or in universities. My next question is on skill sets. So what do you think are the most important critical skill sets for early stage of first time startup founders? So if you can maybe comment on to top three or top four skill sets that you think are very, very important to build a successful company or a successful business. Ravi, I'll open this with you and then I'll come to you, Anshul.
So let Anshul start, and then I'll come. I'll add to whatever Anshul, because Anshul
Uh,
is more experienced in this. So Anshul, you
Definitely.
go ahead, then I will add to it.
Thanks, Ravi. So, most important skill sets. Okay. So not I guess not in any particular order, but I think from a personal point of view, I'm assuming the question is what is the kind of a skill set that a particular founder, like the founder himself, must have. So I think one is when you're starting out a business, and I'm sure probably Ravi will confirm this as well. You got to be ready to take up multiple roles. If you're a startup, you're a new company. You are running multiple roles. I mean, Ravi talked a little bit about how he would go from desk to desk, and I also did a few things in similar ways. So you got to be ready to maybe be an accounts person day one, to maybe be a marketing guy, to maybe be an operations guy, to maybe be a production guy. So you got to be able to have that bandwidth and that flexibility in yourself to literally wear a different hat each day, depending on what the business and what is required of you, and depending on what the team requires of you at that point of time. Obviously, and this is what I feel at least is passion for their business model. I think every startup person, every person needs to have a passion about the model or the idea of what they are doing, and have maybe even a little bit of a vision as to where they should be or what it should look like. Uh, and again, I wanted to give a disclaimer. These are my personal views, at least. Uh, I think it's important to have the ability to again take a 360-degree view, which means that if this is your idea, if this is the business model that you're looking at, or if this is the startup kind of a concept that you're looking at, to take a 360-degree view around it, and to be able to be not biased to only listen to the good news. We always have this bias, positive confirmation, to look at both the good as well as the bad side, and to recognize how to weigh them. uh, and I think Dilmaz, as you mentioned, that I've and as I mentioned as well, that I've exited businesses as well. I think with some hindsight now, I can say that it's also important to know when to throw in the towel there. Especially in today's context, it's a much more competitive world that we are in today than what it was maybe 20-25 years ago when I started my journey, at least. So I think, just to summarize, flexibility of taking up multiple roles, having a passion for the business or the idea or the concept, whatever you want to call it. Again, having the ability to take a 360-degree view and to take the good and the bad equally, and not to get biased towards what you want to hear, and also know when to throw in the towel, or when to sort of when to exit out, to have that kind of a concept in your mind there. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. Pretty interesting. Thanks. Really relevant points. Ravi, your take on this one.
Yeah, so I will agree to all the points made by Anshul. It's very, very important to have a long term vision. Uh, don't go with a short term vision. Whatever you do, whatever business you start, go for a long term business. And one more important point is, you should look at it in today's context. How much can you scale the business? In today's scenario, if you want to survive, if you want to be competitive, you have to have the scalability. No longer smaller businesses in this tough environment can survive. So you should have a clear cut vision, long term vision. And as Anshul said, throw the towel. I will just add to that, don't be emotional about your business. In in our times, or my father's time, grandfather's time, we were very emotional about our businesses. We used to get attached to our businesses, and we never knew when to exit the business or when to close on the business. So it's very, very important that at the right time, if you get a good valuation, if you get decent numbers, you should think of exiting the business and think of the next line or next business that you are in. If you don't do that, we will miss a great opportunity. Today, creating value is very, very important for any businesses that you start. Think of that. Don't think that you can today you cannot earn by earning money. By if you do think you think you can only by doing business you can earn money and you can survive, it's not a good time. It's not a good vision. You should think of how you can increase the value for stakeholders, for shareholders, for everybody, including your employees, and that is going to take you to the next level. Also, I would say, I would just like to add, your communication skills are very, very critical. Your HR skills and the leadership ability that you need to possess to take a good team with you, to develop a good team, is equally important for you when you think of starting this.
Awesome. Pretty interesting. So I think if I combine all the points together, I think I've given a broader roadmap to how to be a successful entrepreneur. I think very interesting answer. I love the overlap there as well. So I think great answer. My second question, or the question I want to continue further with is, I'm pretty sure building what you've built till now would have been not just a cakewalk. Building a startup is a really tough job, takes a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, tears. What are the top three challenges you believe that you faced during your own journey? But other than the challenges, I also want you to talk about the learnings you got from all those challenges, because I want our audience members to also understand that once you've overcome the challenges, it leaves you with some sort of a lesson. So it's not just the failure, but the failure plus a lesson associated. So if you can quickly comment or talk about the biggest challenges or a few challenges you faced during a journey and the learnings you got from it. Anshul, you want to open for this one?
Yeah, sure. I think I seem to be opening for all the questions. But so the challenges, I think in my case, dilemmas have been very different. I mean, I've gone through 11 businesses, as diverse as running an NBFC and a traditional pharmaceutical manufacturing company, manufacturing for some large multinationals out of India, all the way to running a dosa restaurant and a bakery and a confectionery, and including a school. So I think each of these businesses sort of pose their own challenges. Point one. Point two, again, it's not a disclaimer, but again, what I felt as challenges were challenges during the early part of my career, which was more in the 90s and the early 2000s, and things have changed. But I'll try to sort of summarize two or three out of them. Uh, so if you're an entrepreneur, if you're like a self-made or a first generation entrepreneur, generally, if you're just sort of starting out, uh, one of the things that I faced was, there's a lot of no that you got to hear. Yeah, no, yeah, it will not work. Whether it is coming from the previous generation. I fortunately didn't have a family business sort of a thing to take on to, which is a positive as well as could be a liability. It depends upon how you look at it. I had somebody who was like someone who was willing to put money into my ideas, and so there's generally, when you start out, there's a lot of no that you get to hear from friends, from family, from just random people. So I think one of the challenges and was to keep listening to those no's, but at the same time, make sure that if you're determined in your ideas, to keep moving forward with it. And also, what is important is to filter out uh, the baseless no, it will not work kind of a response, and to take in what maybe could be a good way to evaluate, or maybe a new viewpoint that you're getting in terms of critical appreciation for your business, or a constructive criticism for your business, which maybe helps you improve your idea or your business. So that little no thing was a big challenge for me. uh, Secondly, I think most of my businesses were headquartered out of Calcutta, or generally catered to the eastern market, or we had clients that were headquartered out of Calcutta. Uh, so here, I think, especially in the late 90s and the 2000s, as I said, I think that ecosystem for ideation was not very robust. For accepting alternative ideas, for accepting alternative ways of businesses or alternative business models was still pretty limited. There was a pretty sort of a straight jacketed way of doing things, and you either sort of fell into that road. You either traveled that particular path, or there was not really any other path that you could take. So that was a bit of a challenge. And then I remember early on, at least for me specifically, one of the challenges that I felt, and I still feel to some extent today, is that when you go out to raise capital as a startup, institutions, I could be wrong on this now, but I think when I did this, institutions were more keen to look at the assets which you had, or take your personal guarantees, rather than evaluate the business model which you proposed and challenge that business model. So the institutions were not willing to were not willing to hold you accountable for your business model, but they wanted to say, अच्छा आपके पास ये जमीन है, या ये फ्लैट है, या ये फिक्स्ड डिपॉजिट है, आप इसको गिरवी रख दीजिए, आपकी पर्सनल गारंटी आप मेरे को दे दीजिए. So that ability, or I think their openness to actually fund a businessman, or to buy into your business model, or to buy into your idea, was pretty limited, which I think now has changed and is changing in India. But these are some of the challenges that I faced when I started out my journey.
Yeah,
So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, Ravi, your take on this
yeah.
one.
So uh, similar to similar issues, uh, but I'll just like to add a few more challenges that I faced, and the the biggest challenge I have faced, I would say, was the HR challenge. To getting good people, especially in Calcutta, is the biggest challenge. So I think the biggest learning from was to build up a good team from day one, and you need to get good people, and that is where your leadership skills come, how to attract the talent, how to attract the right talent, which will help you in your journey. So that was one of the biggest. Number two, I faced a huge challenge in technology. I'm not a tech savvy guy. Tech was evolving. When we started, technology was hardly there. In fact, EO taught me how to use laptop and emails. Before EO, we were all working on inter-office memos, and this is where EO really gave me the platform to learn, because EO always worked on emails, and this is where we started. I remember the days earlier. My secretary used to take printouts of mail, and I used to see the mails and then tell the secretary to write back the mail. So that is what how I started my journey. But I think EO really helped. So technology is very critical, and this is where, if you don't keep yourself abreast with the technology, with upgradations, what are happening, upgrade your people. That is another challenge I face, and the big issue where people are not ready to change. When you scale your business, when you increase your business, people feel that no, they want to be in the same lethargic mode, or in the same area, same expertise that they work when the company is a smaller company or a medium company. So the people need to change, people need to be upgraded, and they should be taken along when the company grows. Otherwise, the gap is very, very important. And the final, I would say, is on the foundation. Have your system processes. There was a big learning which I faced was system processes were weak. And when I scaled up my business, system processes being weak, there were a lot of leakages, there were a lot of pilferages, and that people took advantage of it. So make a very robust system process in place. A maker checker system should be in place for your businesses, where there are two levels of checking, so that frauds or mistakes can be eliminated. So this is very, very important, and these are my learnings which I have faced. I can continue. I've learned from my mistakes. I think the final thing I'll say: learn from your mistakes. Never. If you don't do mistakes, then you'll never learn. So it's better to commit mistakes and then learn from it and ensure that you don't repeat the same mistake again and again.
Sure. So Ravi, I want to stick with you on this one because I think you mentioned team and hiring as one of the key challenges. So, in your opinion, how important and critical you think is team building? And can you also comment, because I think you have built multiple businesses and you have started from really early stage to now growing it to like a 1500 crore company. What are the different challenges at different stages? Right. I'm pretty sure challenge at a early stage would be very different than once you reach like 1,100 people company to like 1,000 people company to like a 10,000 people company. So if you can maybe throw some light on that.
So, when I joined business, I joined under my father. It was a family business, so I was working with my father. There was no concept called HR, human resource. HR, according to my father's times, and I'm sure a lot of Anshul will also agree. He must have already. There was nothing called HR. It was HR was supposed to be only making salaries and distributing salaries, and issuing appointment letters or arranging interviews. That was HR for them. One person, an old person, doing it and managing the thing, so that salaries are disbursed. That was HR. I think the HR role has totally changed. I think HR is now a much, much bigger gamut. Team building is the biggest challenge that we all face. Then integration of team building, the KRAs and the KPIs, key responsibility areas, the key performance index, appraisals. Appraisals is the biggest issue. And in my Harvard program, when I just came back from, there were so many case studies on HR, mainly on how we should do our KPIs and appraisals, how appraisal is very important, how feedback is very critical to give to your team so that they understand what you need. And I can confess that this giving feedback is not in our DNA. We don't want to give feedback to our people that this is our expectation level. We try to brush things under the carpet, and this is a biggest blunder that we are doing. We need to give these constant feedbacks. Every 6 months there should be appraisals in your team, especially in a startup mode. When you are doing, it's very critical that your expectation levels are communicated to the team again and again, and they are told that this is where you are lacking or where you are performing. The another thing I would like to add is the talent pool is very critical. You should work on a local talent pool, try to attract local talent pool, make them accountable. Accountability is very, very critical in the team building. If they are not accountable, then you will not be able to get the results, and communication with them is very, very critical. So all this is what I like to share with you on team building.
Awesome. Anshul, your take on this one. So, in your opinion, how important and critical is team building and how you overcame this challenge? What's been a process for you, especially growing from, 0 to 1 and then to 100 and then to 1,000?
So I'm just trying to think what I can add to what Ravi has already said. While I agree with a lot of what Ravi has said, uh, I mean, the challenges for me was okay. Being in this part of the world, the biggest challenge was to attract technically qualified people. I mean, I like even today, we are doing. I'm doing a new business which is of real estate. It's a challenge to get qualified civil engineers who've got a certain kind of experience, or electrical engineers who've handled full projects on a turnkey basis, or let's say landscaping, professionals, building management system professionals. So that's a bit of a challenge. So I find that that is something which is something that one has to keep thinking of, and one is never satisfied with the answer that one gets. Uh, but I think team building is important. There is no doubt on that. I think what team building, in addition to what Ravi said, what team building allows a founder to do, or what team building allows me to do, is it allows me, if I've got a good core team, it allows me to create, to allow, it's always the founder's value system, and the ethos of the organization is something which comes from top down, from the founder downwards. Now, if you've got a core team that identifies that, and identifies your value systems, then that helps to build up that ethos and that value system in the organization. So that, I think, is very important. Be it small things about how you treat your customers, how you talk to your vendors, how you talk to your creditors and your debtors. If the founder does it in a particular way, the core team, if they share that vision, if they share that kind of emotion around it, that really helps to bring around that kind of a value system and ethos in the organization. That's very important. uh, the other thing that allows a good team allows you to do, and that's allowed me to do, I must say that I've got a relatively good team. I struggle when I have to, I must say that I do struggle when I'm talking about technical people. Little bit, in my real estate project, I do struggle trying to find good engineering talent, or good, as I said, technical talent to handle automated building management systems, etc., etc. But besides that, the team that I've got is pretty good. And what they've allowed me to do is that they allow me as a founder to sort of, they give me bandwidth to go back to my ideation. So they allow me to come up with that idea, fine tune the ideas that I was thinking in my head, fine tune that business model, fine tune that concept that I'm looking at, uh, which allows me to fine tune the larger picture, which can then be broken down up to the lowest levels there. So again, I think, yes, there are challenges building a team. There are, I think every part of the country will have challenges, and it's not easy. But it is something that one should invest a good amount of time in. And one of the ways of doing that is for founders to be very good in terms of being able to communicate and being transparent in the communications that they have with their team members. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll stick with you on this one, Anshul, because you mentioned that you're starting a new business, right? And most of the people really find it difficult, or rather, it's a very daunting, or rather, a overwhelming task for for hiring new people, right? So, in your opinion, how different is hiring for an existing business than a new business? Again, because both of you are pretty senior and serial entrepreneurs, your challenges for hiring a new person for a very new business, and challenges for hiring for existing entity would be very, very different. So can you give us a broad flavor of how different it is, and what are the things that people need to keep in mind, especially from the point of view that it is very difficult to hire or get the right talent on board if you're a new company, if you're a startup. So Anshul, your take on this one.
So I'll give you two very quick points on this. I mean, there's lots of other stuff, but to make it precise. So if I'm trying to now head, I'm trying to look back as to what challenges I had when I was hiring for my first business. A is that when you're a startup, you're basically telling the person across from you who you're interviewing, saying that, look, believe in my idea and join me. That's about it. Yeah. You don't have that kind of funding or the kind of money to tell him that, okay, if XYZ multinational is paying you this much, I'm going to pay you double the amount or triple the amount. So it's literally, you cannot fight on financials. You're basically trying to sell yourself to him, which is obviously something, which is another thing which is not in our DNA. We are, it's not easy for us to suddenly get up one day and say that, okay, I'm going to sell myself to the guy I'm interviewing, or the lady that I'm interviewing. So that's a big challenge. It's a big challenge from a startup point of view, because then you got to, you're trying to convince the other gentleman or the lady across the table to join you, to believe in you, to believe in your idea, and then to say yes to you. So I think uh, that's one of the biggest challenges and the biggest issues that you face early out. Once you've established a brand name, or once you've established a track record, either as a business, or as a brand, or as an entrepreneur yourself, then automatically people are able to do research on that, people are able to buy into that, and people are able to join you on that. But early out, one of the biggest challenges is to convince people that, okay, this is the idea, so join me because my business model is good. And if you don't understand much about the business model, join me because you think I'm a good person to work with there. Yeah, so I think that is a then there are lots of other issues about what is a career path that you can show them, etc., etc.
Correct. Ravi, your take on this one.
So just like to add whatever Anshul, I totally agree, and that's very very critical, especially when you are looking at a startup. I think one of the most important is part is that person whom you are hiring has to believe in you, in you and the business model. It's very very important that the business model is understood by the talent you are hiring. They should believe in that business model, and they should be part of the business that is going to grow. Initially, uh, when the business starts, when they're not going to be huge revenues or profits. There'll be huge losses in maybe in the initial. So they have to believe in the scalability of the business and also the business model. Then only business can grow. Also, they should be ready to be part of the equity stream, because usually in startups we have seen, though it was this phenomenon wasn't there in our times, but nowadays all these startups that happen, you buy in the equity also. A big portion of salaries are part of equity, the variable part, and that's how the team grows. I was uh, I was in discussion with uh, I did a case study of Burger King. You heard the brand Burger King, but you'll be surprised to know Burger King was taken over by 3G, which is a fund. It's a fund based. They All the guys who were handling this 3G were basically uh, finance guys, and they ran the company without any QSR guy. They had no QSR guys, who understand this QSR business, the restaurant business. None of them at the top of QSR, and they ran the business so successfully. They made Burger King a huge company, $6 billion enterprise today. Burger King is, and these guys were all from finance background. So it's very, and when they started recruiting people, all these guys came in with a huge uh, uh, with a lesser salary and a much bigger equity payout. So this is how they attracted talent, and that is how they all made good money also, because at every exit, at every dilution, they made money. So it's very very critical that the person believes in the business, works, does not expect very high salaries, expect lower salaries, but the variable portion is this thing, and is ready to give his sweat and blood to the business. That's very very important. And also the skills are very critical. They should have the right skills depending on your business to be part of that thing. So this is what I like to add to whatever Anshul said.
Awesome.
Can I just add one more thing, Dilmaz?
Absolutely,
Just
please
just
go
for
ahead.
everybody's benefit, I think early stage companies, when they are hiring, I think people also need to be ready to play multiple roles there. In addition to the founder, I said that early on as well. You will need to step in and play multiple roles depending on what the criticality of the business is at that particular quarter or for that particular financial year.
Awesome, pretty interesting. Before I jump on to the next question, we have a few questions in the chat as well. There's a question by uh, Ashti Agrawal. The question is, what's the best way to deal with conflict with colleagues and management? And I'm sure it's a very interesting question because it needs a lot of introspection. Why don't one of you pick it up, and then maybe we can take one more before we go ahead with the conversation. Any one of you would like to go ahead with this one?
Anshul,
So
please go ahead.
yeah, and she'll go ahead. What's the best way to deal
Sorry,
with
just
conflict? What's the best way to
yeah.
deal with conflict? I'll just pin it as well for people. Yeah, it's on your screen now. What's the best way to deal with conflict and conflict with colleagues and management?
So I think I mean what I'm saying is not just true. I think for an early company or a startup, it's I think good for all companies,
It's
at least in
general, yeah.
my point of view, is transparent communication. If there is a conflict, I think the best way, and then this is probably it's like a life lesson. I think it's always you sit the person down across the table and you have a conversation where you're willing to where each party is willing to say what they're saying, respectfully and in an appropriate manner, and the other person is willing to take it at face value and also listen. I mean, listen is in inverted commas. Listen as in with your full attention, and I think that's the only way you would be able to resolve conflict and issues between colleagues and management.
Ravi, you want to take a jab at this one as well?
No, no, I totally agree. Communication is one of the most critical part, and most of the conflicts or most of the confusion that happen is because there's no proper communication, and it's very important. The communication between the teams, between the people, have to be also very very important. So the my suggestion is there should be a weekly meeting with the people where they sit across the table, talk to themselves, talk to each other, try to sort out issues. If you have issues, they should talk and sort out things. Otherwise, if you carry the baggage, if you carry all this behind your back, it's you're just waiting for it to blow up at some other day, and it will be very very bad for the organization or for the business also. So it's very very important that you do that, talk to them, get everything under the table cleared, and then continue it. And there I think the role of the leader is also very critical. Sometimes they are not ready to do it, so you as a leader should call them, sit across, call them over a cup of coffee, talk to them, understand each other viewpoint, and then sometimes you may have to play a good arbitrator or a good leader by sorting out issues and understanding both the problems and give a solution to the whole thing.
Interesting. Uh, with that, I'll jump on to the next question. There's one more question from uh, Vriddhi Bagrodia. The question is, how do you approach creating a distinct company culture? If you want to take a jab on or define how a great company culture should be like, I have a few questions around team but I think we can pick up this one. Ravi, you want to take this one first?
So I It's a very good question. I think culture is something that defines your company, and I can tell you when I joined my business engineering, when I inherited the business engineering and EPC business provider, the culture which came was very very different, and I never believed in that culture. And it took me a lot of time to change the culture, because culture is what attracts talent. Culture is what people talk about. Culture is what the bankers see, your investors see, your customers see, your clients see, everybody sees the culture. So culture is very very critical, and I think if a culture is bad in an organization, this is something which is not good for your business. And I'll tell you, and I'm being very honest and frank, culture when I inherited, which was that salaries were paid late. There was always focus on clearing payments of the vendors or banks creating this thing. Salaries always were paid maybe 7, 10 days, 15 days late. That's not acceptable. The people working for them, salaries are very critical. You have to keep your commitment dates on salaries, be the first of the month or fifth of the month or seventh of the month, but that has to be, that's defines the organization. That's how you can attract talent. And I realize that because people talk about it, when they in the exit interviews, or when you were going for hiring, they always talked about salaries are paid late. Are you getting your salary? There's no problem, but they are paid, whenever they want to. The management doesn't care, or they have to run a family. So you have to very importantly ensure that you are different. You maintain your thing. Number two is the issue how you maintain your office, the culture that you create late. People don't like sitting. If the boss is sitting till 9 o'clock and they expect the team to sit, that's not the culture that is. So you should maintain strict discipline. Discipline is very very critical. You should ensure that proper office timings are maintained, and people are given that culture of friendliness. You have to maintain a good culture of friendliness. uh, like what we do is organize regular interactions. There's a meet and greet. There's a issue of where we do reward and recognitions to recognize good guys do exceptionally well in the office, or in their job. All this is very critical to create the culture. It should be a friendly culture. Culture should look, the atmosphere in the company should be shown that they are very comfortable to work with, and that is how you can take it forward the company to the next level.
Awesome, pretty
Anshul.
interesting, and great examples, by the way. I love those two examples of communication over a cup of coffee and then paying salaries on time, and I do definitely resonate that yes, people do talk behind the back, and what they do talk outside the room is what defines the culture. Anshul, your take on this one?
So, Dilnawaz, I mean, there are lots of examples, and I think Ravi has given two very pertinent examples, which is something which is extremely important. So, I don't want to add more to that. I'll just simply say one important thing, that at least for a startup, and I echoed this earlier, the culture is always top down. I think if you're an early company, it's the founder that defines the culture. It's today, when I made my first companies, or when Ravi is making his company, it's what we bring in. It's what we believe as culture to be is what the company culture is going to be, right? So it's important that we walk the talk. So if we want to build in a particular culture, we should exude, and we should talk about it, and we should literally be practicing that culture on a daily basis. It's not something that can be moved away from the founder. The founder is very much inherent in that culture.
Fantastic. So, thanks for answering those questions. We have a few more questions lined up, but I'll just finish my set of questions to talk about the team part, and then we can jump in. Meanwhile, a quick plug-in, folks. All those who are watching right now, please make sure you also check out GSEA by EO Kolkata. If you know somebody who's a student entrepreneur building a business while being in college or in a university, you can push the link to them to ask for them to apply. The link is pinned in the comment section. The applications are open right now. If you need more support, or more, if you have more questions about GSEA, which is a Global Student Entrepreneurship Awards, feel free to comment in the live chat. I will be more than happy to answer questions around GSEA. And this session is brought to you by EO Kolkata for GSEA. Moving back to our conversation, gentlemen, on the team part, my next question is, what is the right combination that people need to think about while building a team? So, what's that right mix of a team? And then how do you find that team to build it into reality? So one is the combination part, then other is the implementation in terms of reality. So if you can maybe throw some light, and if you can give some tips and insights to people of how they can then design the team, and then build the one. Anshul, you want to take this one first?
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think while you were asking it. I'll probably take the second one first. Is how do you get the team, right? If I've understood it correctly, Dilnawaz.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, uh, I would imagine in terms of finding the resources, that is the human capital resources, you're utilizing your regular consultants, friends, family members. You're tapping into all of that. And something which I have seen in the last couple of years that has taken a lot of importance is our social media sites, where people are reaching out for particular kind of expertise, and something like LinkedIn. So I think these are some of the new age tools which were not there when I'm sure Ravi and I started out our careers 20 to 15 or 20 years ago. But these have become extremely important currently. And there is good argument also that founders need to have a LinkedIn profile, so that they are able to get buy-ins, or they are able to connect with prospective human capital that is sort of floating around and looking for an opportunity to join an organization. So that's my take on how to find a good team, probably. And then the only way to get them to join is to keep talking, to keep maybe sharing your ideas, and see where you can get a connect. And at the end of the day, to some extent, it's going to be a leap of faith as well, right? Both from the person wanting to get hired, and the person from hiring. In terms of a question about what is the right combination of the team, I'm trying to figure out how to answer that. I think the right combination really depends upon the business idea, and where in the journey that particular company and the founder are. What is the current expertise they have? What is the expertise that particular founder, he or she, has? What are they looking for? I can maybe share an example. Like for example, one of the businesses that I'm in is into tea, and we do packaging of this particular beverage, which is tea, which is chai, which we drink every day. Now, I always knew that I was quite okay as far as the marketing aspect was concerned, but I was very poor as far as the purchasing aspect of this particular product was concerned, because it's an extremely it's something that requires a lot of art and skill to be able to do. So that's the kind of talent that I brought in. In the real estate business that I started, I was again confident about the financial aspect of it or the accounting aspect of it. I was confident about my marketing aspect of it. I was a complete zero about the technical aspect of it, which is what I was sharing with you a couple of minutes ago. Yeah. So then the technical aspect, as in your engineering team, your in-house architectural team, your in-house electrical engineering team. So that's the kind of talent we then went out and we got. How did we get it? Again, you go through your traditional consultants, and for the new age, you go through sites on LinkedIn. You log into certain companies like Team Lease Services and all of that provide you sort of contractual based employment as well. So we reached out through that. I hope that answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Ravi, your take on this one?
So I like to add a few things to whatever Anshul has said, very relevant points and pertinent points Anshul said. I think the right combination is that the team should be hungry for learning. They should have the hunger for learning. Everybody will not be the same. Maybe the technical team, technical guys, marketing, everybody has to have their own skill sets to be there. But they should have the hunger for all of them should have a hunger for learning. They should be update. They should keep themselves updated what is happening in the world around them. Keep a full track on the industry that they are working on, keep an update on what is happening in the competition. I can share with you, a lot of people don't know what is happening in competition. They don't know what is happening in your competitors, in their house, what is happening in the market. You need to keep yourself abreast of all information that is important to know what your competitors are doing, because that will help you to make your own strategy, strategize your business, and take accordingly do a roadmap. A lot of people, we try to stay in our own I would say, own silo. I think uh, that's not advisable. Especially to we need team members who are good at it, who understand this, and make an extra effort to get information from market, what is market intelligence reports. That's what we call. That is very, very important. Then the finance part is very critical, and you need a good guy, finance guy. The right combination, finance guy is very, very critical. A good guy, a conservative guy who understands finance and can make the MISs properly, implement the SOP, standing operating processes, and ensure that they are technically. I would also say internal audit is very critical. When you grow after a certain time, you have to ensure that systems and processes that you have appropriate, the SOPs are followed, and people are not taking things for granted. Because once you do that, people tend to take things very, very lightly. And you have to ensure that everybody works under with the mission and vision is very important. When you get the team, the mission and vision should be communicated properly, and everybody should be part of it. In fact, as a startup, I will only suggest that the mission and vision statement is made with the entire team. They should be part of the entire statement that you want to project, and they should be the total buy-in of the team should be there. So that's very, very also important to kept in mind.
Interesting points. Great insights. I think it's almost becoming like a master class to build a perfect team than a panel discussion. So I really appreciate all the insights and the knowledge that you're throwing, and I think it shows the experience both of you bring on the table. So really appreciate it, folks. All those who are watching this, please make sure you also put in your last set of questions. We are about to end the live within the next 10 to 15 minutes once, because I'm going to jump on to my last question, and we have a few questions in the pipeline from the audience's side. Also make sure you like the video and share it with people, because as I said, this is almost becoming like a masterclass on how to build a perfect team. So other than challenges of building a team, it's becoming like how to build a team. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for all the insights. My last question to both of you is, what according to you are some reasons that teams fail, and maybe how entrepreneurs can prevent them at early stage? So what are those red flags that you can spot in a team, and how do you overcome them? Because building team is one thing, but failure in building team happens a lot, and the teams break up, and then if the right team is not in place, the business suffers. So what according to you are some reasons that teams fail, and how can you avoid them? Ravi, why don't you go ahead and take this one first?
Okay. So, And this is all my learnings that I've learned in my 30 years of journey in my businesses, various businesses. I think the biggest issue why teams fail is lack of trust. The trust between the team members is very, very important. Trust in the company is very critical. If a trust is gone, the team will break. You'll never be able to do it. So it's very, very important. Number two, accountability. As I told you, if there's no accountability down the line with the team, people don't like it. Some people then feel that they are only performing, they are doing the hard work, they are doing everything, but everybody is being rewarded in the same way. So there should be individual accountability. There should be individual rewarding systems, and appraisals should be proper appraisals, and feedback should be put in place. And they should all feel that they are being rewarded for the good work that they are doing, and everybody is not treated in the same thing. And I can tell you, when and this still prevails, I don't think I've been able to totally uh, do away with. But there's always a tendency in the organization where the leader or the head of that department tries to shield his people, tries to show that they're all good, everybody is good. So that is something. What happens then, everybody takes that, I have the best team, but uh, realistically, or reality, that is it. So the one thing which I have trying to implement is that we will work on a matrix. Every team leader has to identify the top performer and the bottom performer, and that list should be very much there, and it should be there, HR. It should be reviewed every 6 months, and the performers who are not the people who are at the bottom of it should be reviewed. And then if they are constantly coming into that list, there should be a decision taken. And the top performers, wherever you travel, or you should meet them at your level as a leader, and encourage them to do the same. So there's a healthy competition that is built up in that internal team. Poor recruitment, if you are not done properly, you have not done the homework. Check the credibility, check the I give a lot of um, importance to pedigree. It's very, very important, the background that these the recruitment we do, they have a very strong pedigree. And that's very, very critical, because it gives a lot of insight into the thing. If your recruitment is wrong, if you don't do proper this thing, it is where it can this thing. And finally, the biggest issue is your leadership. If you, as a leader, have not walked the talk, you have not set the things in motion. If you don't set the example, the team will collapse or will not be successful.
Interesting. Anshul, in your opinion, what do you think are some reasons that teams fail generally, and then how can you spot the red flags pretty early?
So I think Ravi is touched upon most of them. I'll just highlight two things that he mentioned, which really resonate with me, and if those to me at least personally are the most important. So he talked about trust, and I completely agree. And I was going to use the word communication. So I think if it's poor communication, especially in a startup, right? I'm assuming teams are small. This is your year one or year two of business. Communication, especially from the founder, from top down, has to be extremely clear, precise, and doesn't and and it should be clear and precise. That's very important. So, and I think clear and precise, transparent communication builds trust. And then Ravi's also already mentioned what's important. I mean, how important trust is. The second thing I cannot highlight enough, and Ravi also touched upon that towards the end of his remarks, is walking the talk. We've seen enough of companies, late stage companies, mature companies, where they have failed because there is a big disconnect between the founders or the owners of the company and what's happening in the rest of the team. So I think as founders, if we want a certain, if there is an expectation from that we have from the team, we also then are bound to deliver to them what they expect of us. And if that is not set, and if that is not getting aligned, then that's a short way for any team in any company to fail, no matter what stage that they are in. And corporate Indian history is littered with such examples. What are the red flags? As you mentioned, there'll be conflicts coming up. There will be accountability issues. There'll be department heads in more mature companies trying to shield their employees. You get a sense of that. Everybody has a sixth sense. You get a sense that there is something wrong. When you're walking around, people are not looking eye to eye. So these are some of the softer signs that can actually give you a pretty early an early sort of an orange flag, I would say that there is something wrong, and the founder really needs to sit down and again get his communication right, or find out what that which is not going good. And for example, and a fruit doesn't sour in one day. It takes 2 3 4 days to reach that particular stage, right? So that's why a communication breakdown of a team or a team breakdown doesn't happen overnight. It is a process that is set forth probably 6 months before it actually manifests itself into into problems at the workspace. So I think the founder really needs to have its ears on the ground, be with the team, and be open to listen to what they're saying. Not just one way communication. He or she needs to be able to listen with an open mind and an open heart to really hear what is not being said.
Pretty interesting. Great points, gentlemen. I'll now move on to because most of my questions are only last one remaining, which I'll jump onto in the end. And we have almost touched 1 hour mark, so I really appreciate your time and also your patience. Thank you so much for being here. We'll quickly try and wrap in next 10 minutes. We have two more questions, or rather three more questions from the audience's side. I'll quickly plug in the question. The next question is from Ria. There are two questions from her. I'll maybe we can combine them together. First question is, how much do emotions play a role in your choices, and what do you see then how do you see the industry evolving over the next couple of years in your respective field? So if you can, maybe one of you can quickly jump onto this question. How do emotions play a role, and industry insights changing in couple of years?
Ravi, go ahead. I'll have a shorter answer. You'll have a longer answer.
So emotions are critical. They are important. But as I said, don't get emotional with your business. Take things with a pinch of salt. Uh, to both as a leader and as a if you're working, it's all should be taken in that way. It's all part of learning process, and emotion should not get better of you. I always feel that uh, keep your emotions in check, especially as leaders. You have to keep your emotions in check, and don't because if you get emotional, if you show your emotions, you are sending a wrong message in the organization to your colleagues, to your team members. So emotions are important, and you have to be emotional. But I said, don't be emotionally attached to your businesses. You should, as Anshul said, you should know when to pull the plug and to sell the business, create a value for business, and just be there. I think for the team also, listen to them, and also again emotions. Uh, when it comes to people also down your line, when your team members, listen to them. Yeah, they might like to talk. Please listen to them, understand their emotions, and try to find a solution. I think sometimes a lot of things can be solved by just listening. If you listen to them and you can just lend a good ear, I think 50% or 75% of problems are solved in that way. Anshul, you can talk about the
Anshul,
emotion, then
over
I
to
can
you.
go to the next one.
So well, Raghi, I think Ria is the one who put that question up. So, I mentioned earlier, and I think even Ravi also mentioned passion. Passion, you need passion for business, right? You need passion, especially if you're an early stage company or a startup company. Passion gives rise to emotion. So, it's kind of like a catch 22. If you're passionate about something, you're bound to feel emotional about it as well. And I think a business leader will have emotion. You will have emotions towards your business. Emotion also gives you that sense of empathy and sympathy as when it is required. It gives you that little human face. But I think, as Ravi rightly mentioned, you got to keep your emotions in check. And I also mentioned that you got to be able to throw in the towel when you realize that you've achieved the particular valuation that you need, or that something needs to be, you need to go back to the drawing board. So I think emotions do are important. They will flow automatically and organically, but they need to be in check. And what was the second question, Dilmas? I sort of have forgotten that.
Yeah, second question was, how do you see the industry evolving over the next couple of years in your respective fields?
So my fields currently, Ria, are tea and real estate. I see, I think the industry is good. It's always evolving, which is good because that gives you the opportunity to learn and keep reinventing. I think gone are the days where one particular model or one particular concept would work for a very long time. So yeah, I think both these, I mean, industrially, given the paucity of time, they are both robust sectors at the moment that we are in. They're evolving, but I think we are well on the ball as far as the changes that are taking place here. Thanks.
Ravi, you want to take a jab on this one?
Yeah, so I have various businesses, but so I like to say real estate. I agree, it has a huge potential, especially after COVID. Things have really changed. People have realized the value of space. They've realized the value of a good community living, good neighbors. Work from home is a reality now. So people are ready to invest or buy bigger spaces and are ready to pay better money and higher money to get a good space for home. So home has become a very critical part. Earlier it wasn't, and in real estate the business looks very good and it's going to grow. India, the opportunities are immense. My other businesses, I would say engineering, EPC. Again, I see a lot of potential. We need to keep ourselves updated on what is happening. Keep applying. Have proper system process place. I think sky's the limit. We see L&T as the leader, and it's huge. There's no number two in this business. There's a huge gap. All others are all smaller players. So there's a big opportunity for companies like us to grow, both organic and inorganic. I also feel a lot of growth is going to happen in our businesses in a both an organic and inorganic way. And that's one more thing which I always would like to tell you, young entrepreneurs, is look at growth both ways, organic, because you cannot grow only in one way. It has to be both ways, and that is where you should build up your skill sets and your team to grow in both the ways, because that's how you can reach higher scales. And final advice is to you, all of you, is don't start business to get rich only or to make money. If you start any business with that motto, you'll not be successful, guys. You have to look at how what value you bring. The valuations are very critical. What you bring in for the stakeholders, what you're adding to the society, what you're bringing for the society. And I think all that is very important. Money will automatically, if you do business the right way, money will come in. Money will not go anywhere.
Awesome. If time permits, can I take one more question from the audience? There's a question on founder sharing the vision. If you allow, because I want to check with you. We
Yeah,
are
yeah.
past 1 hour time. Okay, awesome. So the
Yeah.
last question is from Ruchi. The question is, what are the some key criteria to look out for when selecting your team members, and how to make them share the founder vision? I think founder vision is very interesting point. I think you mentioned about it, but yeah, if you can take a quick jab on this one, how do you make people fall in love with the vision that you have? Anshul, your take.
How do you make them fall in love with the vision that you have? I think it's literally trial and error. I mean, you're just I'm again talking from a startup point of view. You're the founder, you're sitting across the table with somebody. If you're passionate enough, automatically your passion and your commitment to that particular business concept or to that particular idea is going to flow through. And it'll have to be a leap of faith for that person. It'll have to be a hit and a miss sometimes. Some of them will buy it in, and that's how your team starts building in. Some of them will not be able to buy it in, and that's unfortunate. uh, yeah, I mean, I really don't know if there is any other formula to this. I don't know if Ravi can throw some more light on this.
Yeah, sure. Why not, Ravi? Go ahead.
So it's very important. And I said before, walk the talk. You have to walk the talk. You have to believe in the business and the vision of it. And this is how you, again, the process of communication is very, very critical. Reminder to everybody, including yourself, that this is the mission and the vision of the company, of the founder, and to make them believe in it, because it's very, very important. And I said the mission and vision statement should be formulated with the team. If you evolve with the team, then they are part of it. They have decided the key words of the vision statement, and that they will work uh, to keep that alive, because that is how companies grow. If you look at big companies, how they have grown and how they have stuck to their vision and mission. And also one more thing, the words can change. Certain words become outdated, certain words, new words evolve, new words come in. That is a part of it, because that is how time and with the changing times and technology, things change. So keep that in mind, because a vision 10 years or 20 years old, maybe in overall it might remain the same, but certain keywords need to change with time. So that is what I would like to say to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And with that, we have come to the end of the session. Any last word of advice, piece of advice, comment you want to make in the end before I quickly once again talk about the GSEA and close the live? So, any last words, any words of advice, words of wisdom for the founders in the end? Or
Anshul,
maybe a
you want to
quick
go ahead?
quick summary or a recap from your
So,
side. Anything you want to
okay, no,
conclude with?
I just thought I just want to say to all those who are watching this today, maybe, or who will log into it and watch it a couple of weeks or months later. It's going to be a lonely path. It's going to be a lonely. There will be sort of gray clouds over, but then you have to muster up all your courage and bravery and keep moving forward. In the words of Tagore, it would be "Akla cholore," but despair not. My young friends, in more ways than you know, the journey itself and the end would be rewarding for sure. Thank you.
Awesome. Very nice way to end the session. Ravi, your final remarks.
So, just like to say that guys, believe in yourself, believe in your business, believe in your mission and vision. And as he said, you have to move. Sometime, as Anshul said, path can be lonely, but don't get bogged down. Don't hesitate, and ensure that you stick to your path and take your team with you. Convince people who are not ready to accept it. And as I would love to quote someone, but it's just not coming. But I always believe uh, it's very, very important that you guys read. Keep yourself reading is very, very critical. Read good management books, read some good biographies. I remember Steve Jobs, I think that 600 pages book I read at one go. And I'm telling you, there was so much of learning. You have to learn from the leaders. There are so many biographies or autobiographies that you guys have to look at, both business, sports, and so much to learn and so much to uh, im- uh, adapt to your life and to your businesses. So do that. Read some good biography. Make it a point to read one biography a month, and I'm telling you, you'll be a much more wiser person and much more happier person.
Awesome. And with that, we are at the end of the session. Thank you so much, first of all, to both of you for generously giving out your time. It was supposed to be an hour session, as I said, but we have really went over time, and I learned so much. It was such a pleasure to talk to all of you. And for all the folks who are watching it right now, or maybe later, let me quickly give you the end of the session from my side. So first of all, if you enjoyed the conversation, folks, please make sure that you like the video wherever on whatever platform you're watching. Also, please make sure you share it with the fellow friends, fellow founders in your community, so that more and more people can learn about it. And most importantly, this live session, this panel discussion, was brought to you by EO Kolkata, and EO Kolkata is conducting a program called GSEA, which is Global Student Entrepreneurship Award. It is primarily for students who are either in the college or a university and currently building a business. GSE is a premier global competition for students who own and operate a business while studying in a college or a university. All you need is a great idea with some revenue proof of concept. Feel free to apply. The application link is in the chat below. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's already plugged in, or rather pinned on the top. If you're watching this on Facebook, it's the first comment. Please apply and share it in your network. What is in it for you? So GSE supports student entrepreneurs with mentorship, recognition, and connections to take their business to the next level. Most of the EO members are also investors, so you'll get an opportunity to talk to jury members, investors, judges who are all willing to invest in promising and great startups. And that is not it. You also have 1 lakh rupee as cash prize money for the winners of GSEA Kolkata, and there's $100,000 prize for the winners at the global level. So there are a lot of things which are available for you to help your business which will help your business to go to the next level. So please make sure you apply before the due date. It's a simple Google form. If you have any questions or queries, please reach out to us. You can You can put your questions down in the comments below, and somebody from our team will be in touch. With that, we have finally come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for all those who watched it till now. And as I said, if you enjoyed the session, if you found the value, please make sure you like the video, you share it with the fellow members, and spread a word about GSEA. With that, I'm your host Dilnawaz Khan, signing off from this first live session of GSEA Live by EO Kolkata, and I will surely see you in the next session. And I also would like to thank both the gentlemen who took out time from the busy schedule to be the part of this conversation. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you soon uh, on the next live. Thank you so much, and have a great day, great evening, and a great weekend. Bye.